Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. I have combined all the videos in our responsive drop-down nav menu design series into this single long video so that it's easy for you to follow. Now in this video, we are basically going to create this design right here using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So we have these animations for this nav menu, and this is also completely responsive. So if I decrease the width of the browser window, this is how it will look on smaller screens. So we have this menu icon over here, and if I click on that, we have the same nav menu details displayed over here. We can click on these options to open the details. So we're going to design this from scratch using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And in the end, I'll also show you how to add this design to your Blogger website. And I will also leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. So let's get started. So here we can see when we hover over these nav menus, we have this animation for this arrow, and we also have these options displayed over here. And if I go to the other nav menu, we can see that the other options are displayed over here, but we can see that the height of the nav menu changes in a smooth manner when we go to the other menu items. And now if you go to resource, we can see that we have an image with a larger width, so the background also changes according to the width and the height of the content. So this is what we're going to start designing in this video. Let's get started. Right here I have created this folder called nav menu, and I just opened it with VS Code. Now let's go ahead and create the necessary files. So let's create a new file called index.html, and let's create another file called style.css, and let's create one more file called main.js. Right, let's start with the index.html file. Now in VS Code you have this shortcut where you can just type exclamation and press tab, and you will have this basic HTML5 code. Now here let's go ahead and link our CSS file. So let's type link and press tab, and here in the href let's type style.css, and here in the body let's type script:src and press tab, and here let's type main.js. Right, now let's start with the markup of our design. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a nav element, because this is basically a navigation menu. So let's tap nav, and let's also give it a class so that we can differentiate it with the other navs. So let's tap main menu. Right, now the next thing we will do is we'll create another division with a class of menu items, and in this we will have all these menu items. So let's create an unordered list for these. So let's type ul, and in that we will have list items. And now in this list item we need to have the text and this icon, and also this menu content. So first of all, let's create a div with a class of menu container, and in that we will create another division for this menu title. So let's type division with a class of menu title, and here first of all let's add this text. So let's type products, and we need to have an icon. So for the icon I'll just create a span, and let's use an icon from heroicons.com. Right, here I'm in heroicons.com, and let's search for down, and we can see we have this icon called chevron down. So let's copy this and let's paste it over here. And now let's go outside this division, and let's create another division with the class of content, and in this we will have the content of our menu. So here we can see that we have two sections. We have the left section and the right section. So let's create a division with the class of left, and in this left section we need to have a heading. So let's create an S3, and for the first one let's type games. Right, now below these S3s we need to have these groups. Now these are basically links, so let's go ahead and create anchor tags, and here in the href you can add the link of your pages. For now I'll just type hash, and let's also give it a class. So let's type class, and let's set the class name to group. Right, now here inside this anchor tag we need to have this title and this text. So let's create a division with a class of title, and here let's type Windows 11, and here let's create a paragraph, and I'll just type lorem 4. So this will add some random text. And now let's go ahead and copy this group, and let's paste it 2 more times. And here For the second one, we need to type Linux, and then we need to have Mac. So let's add that over here. Right now we need to create the right section. So here also we have the same structure. So we can just go ahead and copy this left division from here, and let's paste it down here, and I'll just call this one right. And here for the heading we need to have apps, and then we need to have productivity and music. So here let's type productivity, and here let's type music, and I'll just delete this group. Now you can add any text you want over here. I'll just keep it as it is. And now let's open this in our browser and let's see how it looks. So I have this extension called Live Server installed in VS Code. So once you have this live server installed, you can just right click over here in the HTML and click on Open with Live Server. And now we can see that our design is displayed in the browser. Now let's go ahead and add the other content. So the next thing we need to have is the next menu item. So let's go ahead and copy this list item from here till the end, and let's paste it 3 more times. Right, now let's go to the second list item. So this is the first one, and let's go to the second list item, and here we need to type contact. So let's type contact over here, and then here in this content we need to type services and email and phone number. So here let's type services, and here let's type email, and here let's add an example email, and here let's type phone, and let's add a phone number, and I'll just delete this group, and we can delete the right division from here. Right, that's it with the second menu item. And then for the third menu item we have the left and the right sections, but we have just one link for each of them. So here let's go ahead and type developers, and here let's type source code and assets, and here let's type assets, and then we need to add starter code and all assets, and I'll just change the text, and here let's type contact us. And now we need to have the second one in the right division, so let's cut this and let's paste it over here, and let's cut these 2 groups from here, and let's also cut the last group from here in the left section. Right, now let's go ahead and add an image for the resource. So here let's type resources, and here instead of all this content, I'll just create an img tag, and let's add an image over here. So let's go ahead and copy this image link from here, and let's paste it down here. Right, now if we go back to our website, we can see that all the content are displayed over here. We also have the image. Now let's go ahead and style this using CSS. So let's go to the style.css file, and let's start by selecting all the elements, and let's type box sizing border box so that we have the correct width and height for all the elements. Right, now let's go ahead and set the font family of the nav to Roboto and sans serif. Right, now let's change the width of these icons. So we have the icons inside the menu title, and in that we have the span. So let's type nav menu title span, and let's set the width to 14 pixels, and let's set the display to flex so that it is exactly in the center. Right, now the next thing we need to do is we need to have all these list items, which are the menu items, one next to the other. So here we can see all these menu items are one next to the other. So for that, let's go ahead and type nav menu items, because we have this division with the class of menu items, and in that we have the UL. So let's target the UL, and let's set the display to flex. Now we can see that all the elements are one next to the other, and let's go ahead and remove the bullets. So let's type list style none, and let's set the default padding to 0, and let's set the font size to 16 pixels. Right, now let's go ahead and hide all this content inside the menu items. So here we can see we have this division with the class of content, and in that we have the content of the menu. So let's type nav menu items content, and for now I'll just set the display to none. Right, now let's continue styling this. So now let's style the menu title. So here we can see inside the menu title we have the text and the icon. So let's type nav menu title, and we need to have the icon next to the text. So let's type display of flex, and let's set a gap of 4 pixels. Let's tap align items to the center so that the icon and the text are aligned vertically to the center. Right, now let's go ahead and add a padding of 12 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. And by default we'll set the color of the background to white. And when we hover over this, we need to change the background color. So let's go ahead and type nav menu title. And we need to add the styles when we hover over the menu container. So here we can see we have the menu container. So when we hover over this menu container, we need to add the hover effect. So here let's type dot menu container colon hover. And here let's type background. And let's set the background color to EDF6F9. And let's add a smooth transition. So here I'll just tap transition. And let's set it to all 200 milliseconds ease. And now if you hover over this, we can see that we have the background color changing. Now let's go ahead and set the cursor to pointer. So when you hover over this, we have the pointer. Now when we hover over this, we also need to rotate the icon. So let's do that. Here I'll just type nav menu container colon hover. And here let's tap span because the icon is inside the span. And here let's tap transform, rotate Z. And let's set the angle to -180 degrees. And we'll also add smooth transition. So here we can see that we have already added some styles to the span. So here let's tap transition, all 200 milliseconds ease. And now when we hover over this, we can see that the icon is rotating. Right, now let's style the content. So we need to position the content relative to the nav. So here we can see that the content is always on the left side of the nav menu. So here for the nav, let's type position relative. And for the content, let's type position absolute. Now here we can see that all the content are displayed over here. So let's go back to the HTML file. And whenever we want to display any content, I'll just add a class of active. So here let's type active. And let's go back, and here in the style.css file, let's type opacity of 0 and pointer events to none, so that the content is not displayed by default. And here let's type nav menu items content.active, and here let's set the opacity to 1 and pointer events to auto, so that we are able to click on it. So now we can see that the first content is being displayed. Now here for the content, let's go ahead and set the left position to 0 and the top position to 42 pixels. And let's set the minimum width of the content to 500 pixels. And let's set a padding of 24 pixels top and bottom, 32 pixels left and right. Right, now we need to have this left content on the left side and the right content on the right side. So let's set the display to flex. And let's add a gap of 32 pixels between the elements. Now let's go ahead and style the S3 inside the content. So here we can see that we have S3 for the heading. So let's type nav content S3, and let's set the margin top to 0. Let's set the font size to 13 pixels, and let's set the text transform to uppercase, and let's add some spacing between the letters. So let's type letter spacing 2 pixels. Right, now let's style the group. So here we can see we have this anchor tag with a class of group. So let's type nav content group, and first of all let's remove the underlines. So let's tap text decoration none, and let's set the color of all the text to black, and let's set a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom, 16 pixels left and right. Now since the anchor tags are inline element by default, the padding is not added correctly, so let's set the display to inline block. Right, now let's also add some border radius for rounded corners, and let's set it to 4 pixels. And now when we hover over this, we need to change the background color. So for that, let's type nav content group colon hover, and let's add a background color of EDF6F9, and let's also add smooth transition. So let's tap transition, and let's set it to all 200 milliseconds ease. And now when we hover over this, we can see that the background color changes. Right, now let's go ahead and style this title. So for the title, we have this division with the class of title. So let's type nav content title, and let's set it to font weight of bold. And now let's style the paragraph which is inside the group. So let's tap nav content p, and let's set the margin to 5 pixels, and let's set the font size to 14 pixels, and let's set the opacity to 0.6, and this is how it looks. Now if you go ahead and maximize this browser window, we can see that all the content are displayed one next to the other. So let's go back and let's target the left and the right divisions. So let's type nav content left, nav content right, and let's set the display to flex and flex direction to column, and let's set a gap of 4 pixels, and now we can say it looks alright. Right, now the last thing we will do in this video is that we will add this box shadow. So for that we're going to create a different element, because we want the box shadow to change the height based on the content, and we need to animate it seamlessly. So for that we need to create a different element. So let's go ahead and in the HTML file, let's go to the end, and just before the nav element ends, let's create a div with a class of menu bg, and we will use this as the background element. So here let's type nav menu bg, and this should be positioned relative to the nav. So for the nav we already set the position to relative, so here let's tap position absolute, and here also let's set the min width to 500 pixels, and let's tap box shadow, and let's set the value to 0, 4 pixels, 30 pixels, negative 8 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0 and 0.3. Now here we need to set the height of the menu BG based on the height of the content. So for now I'll just add some random value. I'll just change this to 300, or let's try 280 pixels, and I think that looks alright. Later we'll go ahead and calculate the height using JavaScript and set the height to this menu BG. Right, now let's set the left position to 0 and the top position to 42 pixels. Now here we can see that the width of the element is a bit more than what we expect. That's because the width of the browser window is too less. So for now I'll just add a media query. So just tap add media, and let's tap max width of 600 pixels. So whenever the width of the browser window is less than 600 pixels, all the CSS inside this block will be added to our design. So here let's tap nav.content, and let's set the min width to 100% of the browser window, and let's do the same for the nav menu bg, and now we can see we have the correct width. Now let's go ahead and change the active class from the first content. So let's delete this active class from here, and let's add it to the second content. So let's add it right here, and now we can see that the second content is being displayed over here. Now let's remove this from here, and let's add it to the third one. So now we can see that the third content is being displayed. So let's remove this, and let's add it to the fourth one. And now we have the fourth content displayed, but the image size is too large. So let's go back, and here in the media query let's type nav content img, and let's set the width to 100%, and let's set the height to, let's try 200 pixels, and let's tap object fit to cover so that it has the correct aspect ratio. And here for the desktop version, let's go ahead and type nav content img, and let's set the width to 550 pixels, and we'll just cut these two lines of code from here, and let's paste it over here. So when we are on larger screens, this will be the width of the image. Alright, so with that we have completed designing this nav menu. And this is our progress as of now. We have created the styling for this menu content and the menu title. Now in this video we will add the functionality. So when we hover over this, we need to have the animation, and we need to change the height of this background element depending on the height of the content. So we will do all of that in this video using JavaScript. So let's get started. Now this is our source code, and for displaying the content we are adding this class of active. So let's go ahead and remove this. So by default we don't have any content displayed over here, and let's also hide this background element. So for that we have created this division, and we have given it a class of menu bg. So we are using this to add this background element. So let's go back and let's go to the style.css file, and here for the menu bg I just set the height to 0, and now we can see that the background element is also not being displayed. Right, now let's go ahead and add and remove the active class using JavaScript. So when you hover over this, we need to add the active class. So for that, let's go ahead and go to the main.js file, and we need to reference some of the elements from the HTML. So we need to reference the menu container divisions. So here we can see we have this division with the class of menu container. So we need to add the active class to this. So we need to reference all these menu container divisions, and then we need to reference all the content. So here we can see we have the division with the class of content, and in that we have the content of the menu. So we need to reference all of these divisions as well. And then the last thing we need to reference is the menu bg. So we need to change the height of this menu bg depending on the content. So let's go to the main.js file, and let's type const, and let's type menu bg equals document.querySelector, and we have a nav element, and in that we have this division with the class of menu bg. So let's type dot menu bg, and then let's reference all the menu container divisions. So let's type const menu container, and since we have many elements, I'll just call it all equals document.querySelector, and here also we need to type all, and here let's type menu items. So if you go back to the HTML file, here we can see that we have this division with the class of menu items, and in that we have the menu container. So let's type dot menu container. So this will store all the menu container divisions inside this menu container all constant. Right now we need to reference the menu content. So let's type const menu content all equals document.querySelector all, and here let's type menu items content. So we have this content division over here. Right, now let's go ahead and add event listeners to all the menu container divisions. So let's type menu container all dot for each. So we'll use a for each loop for that. Now for each of the single item, I'll just call it item. You can name this anything you want, and we'll also get the index. So I'll just add it inside parentheses, and here let's type index. So the first argument is basically the single menu container, and the second argument is the index. Right, now let's create this arrow function over here. Right, now let's add event listeners to this item. So let's type item dot add event listener, and we will listen for the mouse over event, and here let's create an arrow function. Right, now here what we need to do is we need to add the active class to the correct content division. So if you hover over this element, then we need to add the active class to the content of this menu title, and if you hover over this menu element, we need to add the active class to the content of this menu. So for that we will use this index. So let's type menu content all, and here for the index I'll just type index, and here let's type dot class list dot add active. Right, now let's go back and let's hover over this, and we can see that the content is being displayed. Now if we hover over the next element, we have that content also displayed. So we need to remove the active class from the previous element once we hover over the other menu title. So for that, let's go ahead and remove all the active classes. So let's type menu content all, and let's use a for each loop for that. And here for each of the content, I'll just call it content. And here let's go ahead and create an arrow function, and let's type content.classList.remove active. And now let's go back. And now if you hover over this, we have this content displayed. Now if you hover over the next element, we have the other content displayed. So it is working all right. And now if you hover over this, and if we go outside this menu title, we can see that the content doesn't disappear. So let's fix that. So when we move our mouse pointer outside the menu, this content should disappear. So for that, let's add another event listener. So I'll just tap item dot add event listener, and let's add mouse out. And here I'll just go ahead and remove all the active classes. So I'll just copy this code and I'll just paste it over here. And now if we go outside this menu, we can see that the content disappears. So it is working all right. Now we also need to add a smooth transition between these elements when they are displayed. So for that, let's go back to our style.css file and let's go to the content. And here for the content, let's add a transition. So I'll just tap transition of all 200 milliseconds is. Right now, let's go back. And now we can see that we have the smooth transition. Right now, let's display the menu BG. So let's go back to the main.js file. And now here we need to set the height and the width of the menu BG to the height and the width of the menu content. So let's tap menu BG dot style dot width, and let's set it to menu content. And we need to select the index. So I'll just tap index over here, and let's tap dot. Now to get the width, we have to type offset width plus pixels. So now it will add the width and pixels to this menu BG width. So let's do the same for the height. So I'll just tap menu BG dot style dot height equals menu content all index offset height plus pixels. And now here for mouse out, we need to reset the height and the width. So here let's type menu BG dot style dot height, and let's set it to 0. And now if you go back to the style.css file, we can see that for the content we have a min width of 500 pixels. So let's add the same min width over here. So I'll just type menu BG dot style dot min width equals 500 pixels. Right now if you hover over this, we can see that the menu content and also the menu BG is displayed, and it has the correct height and width set, but we don't have the smooth transition working for the menu BG. So let's do that. Let's go back. And now if you go to the style.css file, and if we add the transition over here, so if you go to the menu BG, and here let's tap transition all 200 milliseconds is, and now we can see that the transition is working all right. Now we have one problem over here. When we hover over the content, we can see that the content disappears. So for that, we need to add a z index to the content. So let's go back, and here for the content, let's add a z index, and I'll just set it to a higher value. I'll just type 400, and now let's go back. And now when you hover over this, everything is working all right. And we also have the height of the menu BG being updated correctly. Right, so that's basically how you can create this drop-down nav menu using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Right, so here I have decreased the width of the browser window, and this is how it looks. Now, when we are on a mobile screen, we need to display a menu icon over here. And when we click on the menu icon, we need to display all these menu item content down here. So we can do that in this menu itself if you want, but we need to make a lot of changes in the CSS. So to make everything easier, let's go ahead and copy this nav menu from here, and let's create one for the mobile nav. So I'll just copy this nav, and here I'll just add a comment. I'll just type end of desktop nav, and here I'll just paste the nav, and I'll just give it a class. So here we already have a class of main menu, so I'll just give it a class of main menu mobile, and here I'll just keep it as main menu. Right now what we need to do is we need to go to the style.css file, and we need to change all these nav to main menu, because if we just select it as nav, then this nav that we have for the mobile version will also be selected. So let's go ahead and select all this nav. So we can just press Command D, or if you're using Windows, you can just press Control D to select all the nav. And now I'll just go ahead and change it to main menu. And now we can see we have the styling for the main menu, but we don't have any styling for the mobile menu. Right now, let's go ahead and hide this desktop menu when we are on smaller screens. So here we already have some media query, and I'll just use this same media query. So I'll just comment these lines of CSS. And now let's go ahead and type main menu, which is the desktop menu. So let's type main menu, and let's type display of none. So when we are on smaller screens, so when we are less than 600 pixels, then the main menu will be hidden. And here for the desktop version, let's type main menu mobile, and here let's type display of none. So when we are on larger screens, the mobile menu should not be displayed. And when we are on smaller screens, the desktop version should not be displayed. So here let's go ahead and set the display to block. So let's type main menu mobile, display of block. Right now let's go ahead and add the styles of the main menu mobile. So I'll just add it over here. So I'll just add a comment, mobile menu. Now before starting with the styling, let's go back to our index.html file and let's make some changes over here. So here in the nav for the mobile version, we need to go ahead and remove this menu BG from here. So the menu BG is basically this background that you see growing and shrinking with the box shadow. So we need to remove that for the mobile version. So I'll just delete this line of code. And in the mobile version, we also need to display the menu icon over here, and we'll also display the logo on the left side. And when we click on the menu icon, we need to display the close icon. So let's add those icons over here in the mobile version. So here inside this nav, let's create a division with the class of logo container. And in that we will have an anchor tag for the logo, and here I'll just type lb dot, and let's also give it a class of logo so that we can style it in the CSS. And then after the logo, we need to create the icons for close and menu. So let's create a division with the class of icon container or icons container, and let's go ahead and create a division for the menu icon. And let's create another division for the close icon. And let's get these icons from heroicons.com. Right here I'm in heroicons.com, and let's search for menu. And let's copy this SVG from here and let's paste it right here. And now let's search for close. And let's copy this icon and let's paste it over here inside the close icon division. Right now we can see that the menu icon and the close icons are displayed over here. We also have the logo displayed over here. Right now let's start styling this. So let's go back to the style.css file. Now here the first thing we will do is we will style this logo container. So let's type main menu mobile logo container, and let's set the display to flex. And now the icons are not being displayed, so let's style that. So I'll just type main menu mobile, and here let's type close icon and main menu mobile menu icon, and let's set the width to 30 pixels, and let's also add a padding of 2 pixels, and let's set the cursor to pointer. And now let's go back to the logo container. Now we need to have this logo on the left side and these icons on the extreme right side. So here let's go ahead and type justify content space between, and let's also type align items to the center to align it vertically to the center. And let's also add a padding of 16 pixels, and let's set the position to fixed, and let's set the left to 0 and the right to 0 to set the width back to 100%. And let's add a background color of DEEAFA. Right now let's go ahead and style this logo. For the logo we have this anchor tag with a class of logo. So let's type main menu mobile logo, and let's type text decoration to none to remove the underline, and let's set the color of the text to black, and let's set the font size to 18 pixels, and let's set the font weight to bold, and let's also change the font family. So here I'll just tap font family, and let's set it to Roboto and sans serif. Now here let's also type top 0. Right now we need to display just one of these icons at a time, so here I'll just set the display to none, and by default I'll just display this menu icon. So I'll just tap main menu mobile, menu icon, display of block. And now when the menu is open, we will add a class called active to this main menu mobile. So here let's tap main menu mobile dot active, and when we have the active class, I'll just tap close icon, and I'll just set the display to block. And when we have the active class, we'll also hide this menu icon. So let's type main menu mobile dot active menu icon, and let's set the display to none. Right now if you go back to the HTML file, and here if we just add a class of active, we can see that the close icon is being displayed, and if I remove the active class, we have the menu icon displayed. So let's go back to the style.css file, and now let's go ahead and style the main menu mobile. So let's tap main menu mobile, and for this we'll set the position to fixed, and let's go ahead and type inset 0, so that it will set the left, top, right and bottom positions to 0. And by default we will set a specific height. So let's check what is the height of this element. So let's right click over here and go to inspect, and now if you hover over this, we can see that we have a height of 66 pixels. You can see it down here. So let's add a height of 66 pixels. Right now let's set the overflow to auto. So now we can see anything outside this height of 66 pixels is not being displayed. And since we set the overflow to auto, it will scroll when the menu is too large. So we'll be able to scroll through the menu. Right now when we have the active class, so let's tap main menu mobile dot active. We'll just set the height to 100 viewport height. And he will also add a smooth transition. So I'll just tap transition, and let's set it to all 100 milliseconds ease. Right now if you go back to the HTML file, and here if you add the active class, we can see that the menu is being displayed. But if you remove the active class, the menu is hidden. Now let's also add some placeholder content so that we can see how it looks when we have content. So here I'll just create a division with a class of website content, and let's add some content. So I'll just tap lorem 4 for the heading. I'll just tap paragraph, and let's add some text. I'll just duplicate this. So now we can see we have this text. Now we can see that the heading is below this navbar. So we need to add some margin top for this website content. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to the style.css file, and here let's type website content, and let's tap margin top, and let's set it to 100 pixels. And I'll also set the font family to Roboto, and I'll also set the line height to 1.8. Right now let's go back to the HTML file, and let's add the active class. So here let's type active, and we need to add a background color for this menu content. So let's go back to the style.css file, and here for the main menu mobile, I'll just add a background color, and let's set it to white. Right now we can copy some of the styles from the desktop version. So in the desktop version we had the styles for the span, which is this icon right here. So here we can see inside the menu title, which is down here, we have this span. So let's copy this style from here. And if you scroll down here, we can see that we also have this style where when we hover over the menu title, we want this icon to rotate 180 degrees. So just cut this from here, and I'll just paste it over here so that we can copy it easily. So let's copy this CSS code from here, and let's scroll down, and let's paste it down here. And I'll just change main menu to main menu mobile. And here for the width, I'll just change the width to 18 pixels. So here we can see we have the icons. Now when the menus are active, we need to rotate the icon. Now in the desktop version, if you take a look at this, we are adding the rotation when we hover over the icon. But here in the mobile version, we need to do that when we click on these menu titles. So I'll just remove hover from here, and when we click on the menu titles, I'll just add a class of active to the span. So we will do this using JavaScript. Right now, the next thing we need to do is we need to add a margin top to this menu items. So here we have this logo container, and after that we have this menu items. So since we have this logo container fixed in this position, we need to add a margin top so that all the content is displayed over here. So let's go ahead and target these menu items. So let's type main menu mobile menu items, and let's add a margin top of 66 pixels. And now we can see that all the content are displayed. Right now, let's go ahead and remove the bullets from this UL. So I'll just type main menu mobile UL, and let's type list style none. And let's also remove the padding. Right now we need to style the menu title. So these are the menu titles. So for that, we will just go back to the desktop CSS. And here we can see we have the code for menu title. So I'll just go ahead and copy this, and we'll just make some minor changes. So here I'll just paste the code, and here I'll just change this to main menu mobile menu title. And now we need to display this icon on the right side. So here I'll just type justify content space between, and everything else seems alright. Right now, let's go ahead and style the content. Here for the desktop version, we have some styles for the content. So I'll just copy this CSS, and we'll just make the necessary changes. So here I'll just paste the code, and here we don't need to have the position absolute and opacity 0, and also pointer events none, and even the top and the left values. So let's delete all of this. We'll also delete the min width from here, and for the padding, we'll just set it to 0 pixels top and bottom, and 16 pixels left and right. And here we need to change this to main menu mobile. And now we'll bring all of this one below the other. So let's type flex direction, and let's set it to column. And let's add a background color, and let's set it to F8, F8, F8. And by default, we will set the max height to 0, and we'll just increase it when we click on this title. So let's tap max height, and let's set it to 0. And when the content is active, we'll just set the height to a larger value. So let's type main menu mobile. So just copy this, and I'll just paste it over here. And here let's set the max height to 800 pixels. So this is a height that is too large for the content. So we need to add a height which we know that the content will not go over. So for me, I'll just set it to 800 pixels. Well, let me just go ahead and change this to, let's try 1000 pixels. Now this should happen when we have the active class inside the content. So let's tap active over here. And now if you go back to the HTML file, and let's add the active class to one of the content. So here I'll just add active. And now we can see that the first content is displayed over here. Now for the other content, such as the heading and the other elements, let's go ahead and add the same styling that we have for the desktop version. So I'll just go over here to the desktop code, and here for the S3, let's type main menu mobile content S3. So we will have the same styles over here, and then let's type main menu mobile content group, and we have the same styles over here. And we will do the same for the title and the paragraph. Now we need to make some changes in this group CSS. So we'll just do that in a bit. Here I'll just type main menu mobile content title, and here let's type main menu mobile content paragraph. Right now let's scroll down and let's make the changes. So first of all, we need to bring all this content one below the other. So let's type main menu mobile content group, and let's set the display to block. And let's also add a padding of 8 pixels top and bottom, 0 for left and right. And now when the content is active, we'll also add some padding top and bottom. So let's type padding. So let's set the top and bottom and also left and right to 16 pixels. Right now, let's go back to the HTML file and I'll just remove the active class from here, and we'll remove the active class from here as well. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. In the next video, we will add the JavaScript. So when we click on this menu icon, we want to display all the menus over here, and we need to display the close icon. And when we click on the close icon, we want to hide the menu. Right now, let's write the JavaScript code. So when we click on this menu icon, we need to display the close icon. So first of all, let's target the close icon and the menu icon. So we have these classes, menu icon and close icon, which are inside main menu mobile. So here, let's type const menu icon equals document.querySelector main menu mobile menu icon, and let's type const close icon equals document.querySelector main menu mobile close icon, and let's add an event listener to the menu icon. So let's type menu icon dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event, and let's create an arrow function. So when we click on the menu icon, we need to display the menu. So for that, we need to add a class of active to the main menu mobile. So let's reference this main menu mobile. So here I'll just type const main menu mobile equals document.querySelector main menu mobile, and here I'll just add a class of active. So let's type main menu mobile dot class list dot add active, and when we click on the close icon, we need to remove the active class. So I'll just copy this and I'll just paste it down here, and here I'll just type close icon, and here I'll just type remove. And now let's see whether this works. So let's click on this menu icon, and we have the menu displayed over here. And let's click on this close icon, and the menu is closed. So it is working all right. Now we have an issue where when we hover over these menu titles, we have the content being active. So we need to remove the hover effect from the mobile version. So if you go to the code of the desktop version, here we can see that we have set it to nav menu bg, and here we have menu items menu container. So we have the menu items inside the mobile version and also the desktop version. So we need to specifically say that this is for the desktop version. So we have to add main menu before all of this. So here, instead of nav, let's type main menu, and I'll just copy this and let's paste it over here, and let's paste it over here as well. And now let's see whether we have any problems. And now we can see when we hover over this, we don't have any problems. Right now, let's go back to the style.css file, and let's go to the content. So here we have the content. So I'll just set the overflow to hidden. And now we can see everything looks all right. So now when we click on these menu titles, we want to open the content. So for that, we need to reference all the menu titles. So here we can see we have these menu titles, and we also need to reference all the menu content. So let's reference all of this. We have content and the menu title. So here I'll just type const mobile menu content all equals document.querySelector all, and here let's type main menu mobile content, and then now let's type const mobile menu title all equals document.querySelector all main menu mobile menu title. Right now, let's add event listeners to all the menu titles. So let's type mobile menu title dot for each, and let's loop through all the menu titles, and I'll just call each of the single title title. So let's create an arrow function, and let's type title dot add event listener, and let's listen for the click event, and let's create an arrow function. And here we need to add the active class to the corresponding menu content. So let's reference this. I'll just type mobile menu content all, and now for the index, I'll just get the index from this for each loop. So here I'll just add one more argument. I'll just type index. So the second argument is the index, and here let's type square brackets index dot class list dot toggle active. So this will add and remove the active class when we click on the menu title. So let's check it out. So here we can see we have the index from this for each loop. So here I'll just add one more argument. I'll just type index. So the second argument is the index, and here let's type square brackets index dot class list dot toggle active. So this will add and remove the active class when we click on the menu title. So let's check it out. So now we can see that when we click on this menu title, we have the content being displayed. So everything is working all right. Now when we scroll up, we can see that this paragraph is being displayed over here. So let's add a z index to the logo container. So here for the logo container, I'll just add a z index, and let's try 400. And now we can see everything looks all right. Right now the last thing we need to do is we need to add the animation for rotating this icon when the content is active. So here we have already added some styles in the CSS. So here we can see we are adding a class of active to the span. So let's reference all these spans inside our JavaScript. So I'll just copy this, and here I'll just type const menu title icons equals document.query selector all, and let's paste it over here. I'll scroll down, and here let's type menu title icons, and let's add the index over here dot class list dot toggle active. Now we can see that the icon is being animated. Right now when we close this and when we open it again, we want these content to be closed. So for that, in the add event listener of the close icon, we'll just loop through all the content. So I'll just type mobile menu content all dot for each, and let's type C for the single content, and let's type C dot class list dot remove active, and let's do the same for the menu titles. So I'll just copy this, and let's paste it down here, and let's change this to menu title icons, and I'll just change this to I, and let's type i.classList.remove active, and let's check this out. So let's click on it, and everything is working all right. So let's click on the close icon, and let's click on this menu icon once again, and now we can see everything is closed. So it is working all right. Now let's check out the desktop version. So this is how the desktop version looks, and for the desktop version also we need to add a background color. So let's go back and let's go to the style.css file. So let's scroll up and let's go to the content. So here we have the content of the desktop version. So let's add a background color of white over here. Now when we scroll up, we can see that the menu also scrolls up. Now we need to fix this menu at this position. So before that, let's go ahead and add a max width for all the content. So I'll just go over here to the HTML file, and I'll just add everything inside a division called main container. And let's cut this ending tag from here, and let's paste it down here. Right now let's go to the style.css file, and let's add some quick styles. So just type main container, and let's add a max width of 900 pixels, and let's type margin 0 auto to set everything to the center. Right now let's continue styling this. So we need to set the position of this main menu to fixed, and let's also add a logo on the left side. So let's do all of that. Let's go to the index.html file, and here inside this main menu, let's go ahead and create an anchor tag, and let's tap lb dot for the logo, and let's also add a class of logo. And let's go to the style.css file, and let's copy the same styles. So here we have added some styles for the logo. So I'll just type main menu logo. So now we can see we have the same styles over here. So now let's go ahead and go to the main menu, and let's set the display to flex so that the logo and these icons are one next to the other. So let's type display of flex, and let's add a gap, and let's set the gap to 32 pixels, and let's add a padding of 32 pixels, and let's set the background color to white and align items to the center. Now we need to set the position. So let's tap position, and let's set it to fixed, and let's tap top 0. So now if we scroll down, we can see that it stays at the top, and now we can see we have some margin at the top. So that's because of the UL. So here for the UL, I'll just type margin 0, And now we can see everything looks alright. Right now we have an issue where when we go to the next menu, we can see the content of the website briefly in between. So let's fix that. Let's go back to our CSS and let's go to the menu BG, which is this division, and we need to add a background color to this. So let's go back, and here let's type background and let's set it to white. And now we can see everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can create this responsive drop-down menu using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Right here I have logged into my Blogger dashboard, and if I go to theme, here we can see that I'm using this theme called Contempo-Lite, which comes by default with Blogger. Now let's go ahead and add this design to our Blogger website. So for that we need to edit the theme code. So let's go over here to theme and let's click on this arrow and let's click on edit HTML. Now before making any changes to your theme code, it is a good idea to select everything and copy and paste this code somewhere as a backup. Right now let's go ahead and add our code. So first of all, let's add the CSS. So here, this is the CSS of our theme. So let's scroll down and let's go to the end, and we will add our CSS over here as well. So let's go ahead and create a comment, and here I'll just type additional CSS, and now let's go to our source code, and let's go to the style.css file, and let's copy all the CSS from this line of code till the end, and let's go ahead and paste it over here. Right now the CSS is copied. Now let's go ahead and copy the HTML. So let's scroll down and we'll just paste the HTML at the end of our theme code. So here, just before the body tag ends, I'll just copy the HTML from here. So let's go ahead and copy from this line of code till the end of the mobile nav menu. So let's copy it till here. So we are copying these two nav elements. Now we are not copying this container division because in that we have this content of the website. So we don't want to copy this content of the website. We just want to copy the nav menus. So let's copy these two nav tags. So this is for the mobile version and this is for the desktop version. And let's paste it over here. So the next thing we need to copy is the JavaScript. So let's go to the main.js file and let's copy all this JavaScript from here, and let's go over here and let's create a script tag, and let's paste our JavaScript over here. Here we can see that we have the HTML code, and in that we have all the content of the dropdown. So here we can see we have the logo, so you can change this logo to whatever you want. You can also add an image over here, and then we have the products. So if you go over here to our dropdown, here we have the products. So you can change these text content to whatever you want. And then we have all the content of the menu. So here we have games, Windows 11, Linux and Mac. So here we can see games, Windows 11, Linux and Mac. So you can go ahead and change the content of all of this. And here we also have an image. So this image is directly coming from a website. But if you have a local image which is inside your project, then you have to upload the image somewhere and get the link and paste it over here. But since I have this image online, I'll just keep it as it is. Right now let's go ahead and save it and let's see whether it looks alright. So let's click on save. And let's open our website. So let's go to the dashboard and let's click on this view blog button. And here we have our website displayed. And if you scroll down, here we have the menu items displayed over here, but it is displayed below all the other content. So we need to add a Z index, and the next thing we need to do is we need to remove this header that we have by default, and we need to replace it with our current design. So let's do all of that. First of all, let's remove the header. So if you right click over here and go to inspect, here if you take a look at the code of our theme, here we have this header component, and in that we have all this header content. So we need to remove this header component from here. So let's go back to our theme code and let's search for header. So I'll just press Command F. If you're using Windows, you can just press Control F and let's type header. and this is the header. So let's go ahead and delete this header tag from here. And while we are here, let's also go over here to the CSS and let's change the Z index so that it is displayed above all the other content. So here we have the CSS. Let's go to our main menu class, and here let's type Z index, and I'll just set the Z index to, let's try 400. And let's also do the same for the mobile version. So let's scroll down, and here for the main menu mobile, we need to add a Z index. So I'll just add it over here inside main menu mobile. So let's type Z index and let's set it to 400. And now let's go ahead and save this. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see that the header is gone, and we have this navbar displayed over here, and it is displayed on top of all the other elements. So the Z index is working all right. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to bring it to the center. So we will start this navbar from this position over here till the end. So let's see what is the width of this element. So let's right click over here and go to inspect, and let's take a look at this division right here. So we have this main element, and if you scroll down here, we can see that it has a width of 890 pixels. So let's add the same width to our navbar. So let's go back to our code, and here in the CSS, in the main menu, here we have two positions. I'll just remove this position relative from here, and let's go ahead and set a max width, and let's set the max width to 890 pixels, and let's set the left position to 0 and the right position to 0 so that it has the correct width. So let's click on save. And now let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see it has the correct width, but it is not in the center. So let's right click and go to inspect. And I think we need to add a margin of 0 for top and bottom and auto for left right. So now it is in the center. But now we can see that the width is a little bit more than expected. And that's because it is also taking into account this padding. So for that we need to add box sizing, and we need to set it to border box. So now we can see we have the correct width. So let's go ahead and add these two lines of code. And I think we'll also change the color of the text to black. So let's go back and let's paste the code over here, and let's also change the color of the text to black. Right, now let's go ahead and click on save. And now let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see we have the black color for the text, and we also have the correct width. So everything is looking all right. Now let's also add a box shadow. So if you scroll down here, we can see that we don't have any separation between the nav menu and the content. So let's add a box shadow. So here I'll just type box shadow, and let's set the values to 0, 6 pixels, 18 pixels, negative 10 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, and 0.5. And now let's save this. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see we have this box shadow. Right, now the next thing we will do is we will add some padding top for all the content of the website. Because right now we can see that a portion of our content is cut because of this nav menu. So I'll just right click over here and go to inspect. And let's take a look at the container division. And I think it is page body. So here we will add a padding top. And let's set the padding top to, let's try 40 pixels. And I think that looks alright. So let's add this padding top of 40 pixels for this page body. So I'll just copy this selector from here, and let's go back and let's scroll down, and here let's type page body padding top 40 pixels, and let's save this. And now let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And now we can see we have this padding top for the content, and if you open any of these posts, here also we have this padding at the top. So everything is working all right, and the menus are also being displayed correctly. Right, now let's also add the link of the home page for this logo. So I'll just copy the link of the home page from here, and let's go to our HTML. And here let's go to the logo. So here we have the logo, so I'll just replace the hash with the link of our homepage, and let's do the same for the mobile version. So here also I'll just paste the link. Right now the next thing we will do is we will look at the mobile version and let's see whether it is working alright. So I'll just save this and let's go back to our website and let's decrease the browser width. And this is how the mobile version looks. So we need to add a box shadow for this as well. And I think we can add white background color over here instead of this color. So let's do that. Let's go back to our CSS and let's go ahead and copy the box shadow style from here. And let's go to the main menu mobile class. And here let's paste the box shadow. And then if you go to the logo container, so here for the logo container we have added this background color, so I'll just change this to white. And if you go back to our mobile version, here we can see that at the top we don't have enough space. So when we are on a mobile version we need to add more padding to the top. So let's right click and go to inspect and let's try a value. So here instead of 40 let's change this to a higher number. I think we can also change the height of this mobile element. So here for the mobile version, let's go to the logo container and here we have a padding of 16. So I just type padding of, let's try 8 pixels top and bottom and 16 for left and right. And I think that looks alright. And now if you take a look at the height, we can see that it is 53 pixels. So here for the container division, let's change 66 to 53 pixels. And now I think we need to change the padding. So let's go to page body and let's change the padding a little bit. So I think 54 or 56 pixels looks alright. So these are the changes we need to make. We need to change the padding top of the page body to 56 pixels when we are on smaller screens. And for the logo container, we had set the padding to 816 pixels. And for the main menu mobile, we have set the height to 53 pixels. So let's make all those changes. So here we have the logo container. So I'll just type 8 pixels top and bottom and 16 pixels left and right. And let's go to the container division. So it is this one right here. So instead of height 66, we need to set it to 53. And then we need to change the padding top when we are on smaller screen. So I'll just copy this CSS. And let's paste it inside this media query. So I think we can just delete these lines of CSS because they are already commented. And I'll just paste the CSS over here. And here we need to change the padding to 56 pixels. And let's save it. And let's go back to our website and let's reload this page. And the desktop version looks alright. Let's go to the mobile version. And we can see that everything looks alright. And we need to change the color of the text over here as well. So let's do that real quick. So for the main menu mobile, I'll just type color black and let's save it. And let's go back to our website and reload this page. Let's go to the mobile version and we can see that we have the correct color for the text and everything is working alright. So that's basically how you can add this custom responsive drop-down nav menu to your Blogger website. Alright, so that's basically it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description of this video. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.
We'll be right back.